they are, the cars with the power styling that are going to carry you and Chrysler to new heights in 1956. Let's see them now as your customers will see them. New, exciting, and beautiful. Here it comes, the car we've all been waiting for. The brand new New Yorker four-door hardtop for 1956. Better designed than competition. Roomy as our standard four-door sedan. Unlike competition, this smart model has full legroom in the back and full window area. The Power Style New Yorker four-door hardtop. Also available in the Windsor line. Here it comes, the 1956 Chrysler New Yorker four-door sedan. And just look at that power style silhouette. That's a real look of motion. Here it comes, the smart New Yorker St. Regis two-door hardtop in a brand new three-tone treatment that brings out the long flight line con. Fresh and new looking as all our lineup of brand new colors. Here comes the Chrysler Windsor Newport hardtop with its own grille, own special power style features. And how about that striking two-tone combination? Brand new for 1956. Distinctively different, a real beauty in its own right, the new Chrysler Windsor sedan for 1956, and a real selling line the Windsor will be. And here comes the Windsor convertible for 1956. And it has another new feature. When the top's up, it has a full vision wraparound rear window. And now, the queen of the highway, the finest expression of a forward look, the exclusive Imperial, with its exciting new styling, sensational new silhouette. The brand new Imperial hardtop, the most beautiful, most luxurious car in America today. No, we haven't shown them all to you. There'll be four-door hardtops in all three lines, and town and country wagons in the Windsor and New Yorker lines for 1956. We've got the styling for you, the kind you can sell, the kind you can talk about, the kind your customers want to buy. And here's why. This is a shape. It's a boxy shape. And here's what happens to this shape when it's used in a car. You guessed it, it's the shape of our competition. It's the squared off shape of our competition. It's a standstill shape. Even when it's moving, it seems to be standing still. This is a shape, but it's the shape of movement. It's the Chrysler shape of 1956. It's the fleet, swift-looking, moving shape that makes our cars look the way a car should, as though it's going places. And it's that look of going places that you want to talk about to your customers. It's the fleet look, the look of motion. It's the flight line sweep from the front all the way to the new high rear fender that makes the car look like a powerful plane poised for a takeoff. Let's have a closer look now at how Chrysler designers have given our new cars their power-swept look. The headlight shields, jutting forward to project the body line. The flowing contour lines built right into the steel. sweeping high rear fender. Not tacked on like an afterthought, but part of the sweeping silhouette of the car. The back-flowing taillights with their massive look of power. And of course, those long, low road-hugging lines, longer than last year, add to the fleet look, the powerful moving look of your new car. And there's plenty more that's new and exciting to talk about and to sell. Here's the new Windsor Grill. It's more massive, it's cleaner, it's smarter, and it sports a new medallion. And integrated right into the grill are the new direction lights to give function as well as beauty to the new front. Look, too, at how those built-in contour lines give a long, flowing sweep to the car. And, of course, our windshield posts slanting back to emphasize the long lines of the car and supporting our swept-back super scenic windshield that's wrapped around top and bottom. Another exclusive Chrysler Power Style feature. Here's the new Windsor rear deck, broad and sweeping, with taillights integrated right into the design. The 1956 Chrysler Windsor, a car with styling you can sell, and you will sell if you talk about it. And the New Yorker, here's a car that will almost sell itself. Let's see what the New Yorker has that people will be talking about. A brand new grille treatment with crisp, clean-looking horizontal bars. Richer, finer, distinctively its own. Forward-thrusting headlight shields to add length to the power-swept silhouette. Wing tank front bumper extensions that add a look of power. Long, sweeping silhouette, accented by distinctive chromium louvers. Across the sweeping rear deck, elegant letters to add finish and class. The New Yorker for 1956, a beauty, and it's longer than in 1955. Point out its new features, and just watch this car sell. And here it is, the finest expression of the forward look, the exclusive Imperial for 1956. Its distinctive grille and broad sweeping hood line. Long, long silhouette, accentuated by the high-flowing rear fender that seems to flow straight from the front end. The 1956 Imperial wheelbase has been increased by 3 inches, and the car is 5 1/2 inches longer than in 1955. And, of course, the famous Imperial gun sight taillight, with a new treatment that's cleaner, smarter, more power style. And a brand new rear deck, 10 inches longer, fitting climax to the most beautifully styled car with the forward look. And when you open the door and invite your customer to sit inside a new Imperial, you're inviting him into the most luxurious interior ever designed. Rich, elegant, new, with a brand new Imperial custom fabric designed around the fitting motif of an Imperial eagle. And inside your New Yorker, your customer will find blends of new fabrics, leathers, vinyls, with a score of striking interior trim combinations to choose from. And inside your new Windsor is real luxury, carefully planned blending of textures and colors to add up to a real decorator look, smart and rich as a beautiful room. Interior styling to match the fine power style exteriors. Rich and modern, the way a fine car should be. Get your customers inside your new cars. Point out the fabrics, the leathers, the new vinyls. Get them to sit on the soft and comfortable seats. You'll have them half sold when you do. And just wait until you tell them the color story. For these are new colors. They are subtle colors. And you have 16 of them to choose from, plus rich jet black. new cars have it. Luxurious interiors, your new cars have them. Exciting colors, your new cars have them. This is the styling that will bring the customers in. Believe in it, know about it, and talk about it. And how those customers will buy. Power in aircraft. Power in industry. Power in today's automobiles. And here's how you can use Chrysler power to add power to your selling. First, before you demonstrate, know your engine. Know what's better about it. And there's plenty that's better about our new 56 engines. Here's the powerful new Spitfire, power plant of the new Chrysler Windsor. It's larger, 10% larger. It has a stepped-up compression ratio, now 8.5 to 1. It has new improved spark plugs for greater fuel economy. It has a new air intake for better breathing. It starts faster, moves faster, performs better, and burns less fuel. This is an engine to talk about. An engine of greater performance and greater horsepower. A reserve of power that provides lightning response in any traffic emergency. And the new firepower engine, an engine to shout about. Bigger, 7% bigger. Higher compression ratio, now a power-packed 9 to 1. Powerful enough to make the New Yorker and the Imperial rule the road wherever they go. And it's on the road that the power and perfection of these engines prove themselves. So get your prospect behind the wheel and give him the feel of virtually unlimited power. That means absolute control and safety on the highway. Give him the thrill of an Aero Quick Start. Let him experience how the power we have is quick power. We've got power, plenty of it, but it's smooth power and safe power, not roaring, but smooth. Power in the bigger Spitfire in the 1956 Windsor, in the bigger firepower in the 1956 Chrysler and Imperial. So when you're selling power, get out there on the road, and Chrysler Power will sell for you. And then have your prospect step on the brake. For there, inside the wheels of your new 56 cars, is the greatest advance in braking in the past 10 years. A brand new power-style safety feature for 1956. It's the new, safer, smoother stopping Chrysler Power Smooth Brake. You all know how the old type brake works. How pressure on the pedal forces the shoe against the drum, like this, to bring the car to a halt. But here's the sensational new Chrysler Power Smooth Floating Shoe Brake. And here's what happens when your foot presses on the pedal connected to this brake. Notice contact between shoe and drum. Notice how tight and even it is all around. This is big news, big safety news, big engineering news, big Chrysler news. News of 25% less pedal effort. News of smoother, faster stopping, of more stopping power. News of longer life for brake linings, up to 60,000 miles. Stopping. This is news to sell with. And when you're out on the road and your prospect presses on that pedal, the new, safer Chrysler Power Smooth Brake will sell for you. And there's more braking news for you to sell in your new 56 cars. If it's the new 1956 Power Brakes you're talking about and demonstrating, be sure to tell about the wonderful improvements in the already wonderful Chrysler Power Brake. Faster response, easier action, less pedal travel for quicker, safer stops, and full braking protection even if the motor stops. Another tremendous safety factor. There's plenty to talk about and demonstrate in the superb engineering of your great new cars. The power of two great engines, created by the experts of them all. The quick power, smooth power, quiet power, the economical, trouble-free power. And And the safety, the Chrysler safety that can't be beat. Made even more talkable by our new type brake. Talk about those things, sure. They're the things competition can't beat. But do more than that. Demonstrate them right where they count, out on the road. And you'll be taking the right road, the high road to more sales in '56. You're selling the best riding car on the road. And when you're selling a new '56 Chrysler or Imperial, you're selling the most nearly self-driving car yet created. The car with more features, newer features, better features, as only Chrysler engineering can design them. You know our engineering victories with Power Flight transmission, with Oriflow shock absorbers, power brakes, full-time power steering. And keep your eye on competition this year. Watch what they copy and try to claim as first. Remember, you introduced full-time power steering to the motoring public. This is your first, not theirs. And for '56, you can offer your customers 9 more better driving features. 9 more features, yours to sell with. And the more you talk about them, the more cars you'll sell. First, another great Chrysler first. Our brand new push-button Power Flight gear selector control. With less effort than it takes to operate your push-button radio, this is the control that makes driving really automatic. Right up there on the instrument panel, just below our glare-proof safety pad, within easy reach of your hand. And it's not even necessary to move your arm from the armrest. A simpler, safer gear selector. One of the most exciting engineering advances in years. Will this help you sell Chrysler? It sure will if you talk it up plenty. And there's more. Wider span windshield wipers, fully automatic, fully adjustable, with a new linkage to give 10% more clean sweep visibility, even in the hardest driving rain. A new Chrysler safety feature. Talk about it. And still more, another safety feature on our new car. Seal beam headlights that miraculously keep the light on the road. They not only decrease fog glare, but increase the overall range of vision by more than 80 feet. A tremendous safety factor in night driving. And still more. Our brilliantly designed new safety lock. The lock that can hold the car door securely closed even in a violent collision. A safety feature? You bet it is. A selling feature? It will be if you and your salesman talk about it. And here's our new door handle. Distinctive, rightly designed for the look of the car. But even more important, designed for easy one-hand opening. And in the door handle, another new Chrysler feature, a one-hand lock with weatherproof shutter. A door lock skillfully designed for protection against freezing or icing up. It's finely engineered details like these that make our new cars the best on the road. And we've got even more. Here's the front seat, moved back 1.25 inches for more legroom. And of course, easily adjustable forward. A big selling feature when you're selling those big men. And still another exciting new feature, our brand new airplane-type instant heat condition air system. The miracle heater that gives full living room comfort in as little as 10 seconds. That defrosts an icy windshield in less than a minute. Easy to service, easy to use, and easy to sell. And now, a new feature, a new idea, a new surprise. Top secret during the years of its development, another great Chrysler first, the brand new Chrysler fully automatic highway hi-fi, high-fidelity car phonograph. Now making it possible to have a complete radio and phonograph combination in our cars. Highway hi-fi. It's the last word in driving luxury. Newest idea for driving pleasure. No scratch, no jarring, smooth, high-fidelity tone on 16 2/3 RPM records. Each record will play for a full hour of continuous music, and the price tag is low. 9 new, better driving features in your new cars. 9 Chrysler innovations for better driving, safer driving, more comfortable driving. And these are the features that can help you sell more cars if you point them out, talk them up, and then get your prospects behind the wheel where they can try them for themselves. 9 more wonderful weapons for all of us to use in making 56 Chrysler's year of greatest conquest.
O'Donnell, Vice President, Organization and Development. Al Fleming, Vice President in charge of manufacturing. Tom Poyer, Executive Assistant to the Vice President in charge of manufacturing. Bob Roger, Chief Engineer, Chrysler Division. Roy Appleman, Executive Assistant to the President. Jack Condon, Staff of the President, Director of Dealer Relations. Bob Tobin, Staff of the President. Fred Stewart, Staff Specialist, Staff of the President. Mark Prass, Director of Product Planning. George McCarthy, Assistant Sales Manager in charge of Organization. Maury Harris, Assistant Sales Manager, Field Operations. Al Fetta, Director of Distribution. Fred Ritter, Used Car Sales Manager. Claire Robitel, Fleet Sales Manager. Al Green, Manager of Business Management. John Caron, Advertising Manager. Cliff Lockwood, Assistant Advertising and Merchandising Manager. Godfrey Miller, Assistant Sales Promotion Manager. Dick Typer, Director of Service. John Smith, Director of Parts and Service Sales. These are only some of the members of our new team. Only some of the reasons why we're so confident about the years ahead. To me, the overpass linking our plant to the new body plant is one of the greatest symbols of our confidence in the future. It's a symbol, too, of the way things are happening at Chrysler these days. The erecting of that bridge from our existing plant to the new is the kind of engineering feat we're seeing plenty of in our organization. That structure was put across the 9-lane highway in only 8 hours, and that's building. That's the kind of building that's going on all over the place. We're not only building new buildings, we're building new production equipment. And our production can be 40% higher with the new plant. We can now turn out more than 1,200 cars a day. As you've seen, we're building our staff. We're laying the foundations for bigger and better years ahead. It's not only our home office staff we're building our field personnel as well. We're expanding our group of top-flight people whose full-time job is to help you sell. We're building our fine engineering reputation. We're leaving no stone unturned to find the best and most skillfully designed production facilities in the industry. We're building our styling leadership, working and planning and creating the newest and finest styling ideas in the business. We're building our helps to you, perfecting our advertising, our promotional aids for you, our training material for you and your men. We're building, and this is only the beginning. Like all building, our building takes work, hard work. We face a year now, all of us, when our goal is a tough one. We want not only to sell and sell hard, we've got to go into enemy territory and bring back new customers if we're going to reach our goal. And this aggressive action is part of our building, part of the kind of action that we and you will be taking plenty of in the years ahead. 1956, Chrysler's greatest year of conquest. I'm confident, and I'm sure that you are confident, that the exciting, challenging, working, selling, winning, profitable year ahead will be just that for all of us.
What are they trying to prove with these new automobiles?
How do you mean?
110, 120, 130 miles an hour? Who drives that fast?
Not me.
Well, neither do I. They don't have to keep piling up more and more horsepower on my account.
Well, speed isn't the only thing. Greater horsepower can mean greater safety at lower speeds, more dependable operation, longer life, more comfort and convenience, if it's properly engineered.
Well, that's the trouble. I'm no engineer. I couldn't grease a wheelbarrow and guarantee it'd run. I want to buy a new car. I've been looking around, but I'm confused. All this torsion, twist transmission, bifocal windshields, wraparound headlights and whatnot, I don't know what to buy.
I know what you mean.
If I were like this fellow McHale. Oh, did you ever read him?
Yes, I've read him. Lousy writer.
No, well, he really gets around all the different cars. Oh, here he is practically inside the engine of this one. And here he is doubled up in a sports car. He's a pretty big man to get trapped in one of those things.
You said it.
Hey, you know, you look a lot like him.
Not him. He's fat and bald.
Well, you're not so skin... well, what I mean, if you were wearing the same sports coat. Hey, by golly, that is the same sport coat.
Well, then, by golly, I guess I'm the same fat boy in it. Okay, I'm Tom McHale.
Well, this is really a pleasure. I've been reading your stuff for years.
Well, thanks. I'm on my way to the coast right now to do another series of performance tests on some of the 58 cars. We take regular stock models, the same as you'd buy at your dealers, and test them side by side. When we get through, we know which one is the best make.
Boy, what I'd give to watch something like that.
I wish you could, too. It'd give us the chance to get a layman's reaction right on the spot. See, that's an idea. Why don't you come out with us this weekend?
Well, gosh, Hey, look, let me call my wife when we get in. Maybe I can fix it up.
Good.
Wow.
We transfer to a small plane to reach this special valley. We come out here because conditions are just about ideal. In an hour's drive, you can go from desert heat to mountain snows. In one day, you can duplicate driving conditions in all parts of the country.
So this is Manzanar, the remains of a ghost town at the foot of the High Sierras.
Manzanar was the Japanese relocation camp during World War II. Gives us the advantage of an abandoned airfield with big landing strips of concrete. We have 3 crews here, 1 to conduct the tests, 1 to check the cameras and equipment. As you can see, we have to be able to shoot from high angles once in a while. 1 to check every car to make sure it's at peak performance. Engines, brakes, tires, everything. Now we're sending the cars out to see which ones have the quickest acceleration when you need it. Then all of a sudden you find you have less time to pass than you thought you had. I call this the GI Wonder Test.
The GI Wonder Test?
Mm-hmm. Did you ever pass a string of slow-moving cars and about halfway around find another car coming right at you?
I'll say.
Well, I don't know about you, but when it happens to me, I say, gee, I wonder if I'm going to make it.
Oh, I see. The GI Wonder Test. That's pretty good.
Actually, it's the passing ability test. This is where we find out what that extra horsepower is really for, if it's properly engineered. We start with Windsor and Mercury. The cars cross the line at 25 miles an hour. There, the drivers floor the accelerators. At 500 feet, the Windsor's 2.5 lengths ahead. The Windsor and the Olds 88 said to have the fastest pickup on the Oldsmobile line. At 500 feet, the Windsor's in front by 3 to 4 car lengths. The Windsor versus the Buick Super. We're using 2 cameras, one at the starting line and one at the 500-foot mark. Again, it's Windsor by 3 lengths. This is the New Yorker compared with the Buick Roadmaster. In a short burst of speed to pass, the New Yorker gains 4 to 5 lengths on the Buick. The Imperial and the Cadillac, both in drive range. Both floor to get all the quick power possible. In 500 feet, the Imperial beats the Caddy by 6 or 7 lengths. The Imperial and the Lincoln. These are all one continuous run, cutting from one camera to the other. Chrysler cars show more get-up-and-go power than their competition. Well, was that of, should I say, passing interest?
Well, I see what you mean about needing quick power for emergency passing.
There's another emergency we test for, over here. And this is the panic stop test. We're lining up the Windsor and the Olds 88 and the Buick Super. They'll cross the starting line at exactly 60 miles an hour. If they're all even, Dusty will give them the signal to slam on the brakes. Because we have set up that imitation tractor and hay wagon on the track, and the object is to stop before they hit the wagon. Wow. Well, in just a moment, we'll see how wow it is, because here they come. The Windsor, Olds, and Buick Super approach at 60 miles an hour. The wagons are at the rated safe stopping distance at 60. The Olds goes right through one wagon, while the Buick plows into another. The Windsor stops well back. The Windsor and the Mercury. The Chrysler cars not only have more power, they have better control of it. Again, the Windsor stops short, but the Mercury nudges the wagon. Now the Imperial with Lincoln and Cadillac, same speed. Hit the brakes. The Imperial comes to a safe, straight line stop. The others can't stop in time.
Now, the third driver looks as though he might have a lawsuit in his hands, to say the least.
Not to mention a few teeth missing.
Now, the Chrysler cars seem to be the best, whether it's go power or stop power.
Ever see a test of turn power?
Well, not that I know of.
Come on. We set up these flags exactly 60 feet apart. Our cars are going to weave through them at 35 miles an hour. There goes the Windsor, as graceful and nimble and sure-footed as a cat. The Oldsmobile. At the third flag, the Olds rear end breaks loose and slides off the road. He misses the fourth flag and slides off again. Out of control. Buick Super. Same drivers, same speed. Uh-oh, same rear end breakaway, same loss of control. Now the Mercury. It leans heavily, it swerves. The rear wheels slide off the shoulder. This is really a rough go. Then along comes the Saratoga. That makes it look so easy. You'd think the Chrysler cars were glued to the road. Next, the Buick Roadmaster. This Buick is equipped with airbags for springs. At extra cost. But airbags don't seem to help much on leans and swerves. It's half out of control. The Imperial is a long car, yet it negotiates the flags cleanly. Very little lean and no breakaway of the rear end. The Cadillac in the Imperial class develops considerable lean and swerve, and the rear end fishtails. There goes another flag. The driver has only partial control. Last, the Lincoln. It starts out all right, but soon it's in trouble. Every single car outside the Chryslers either missed the turn or hit a flag. There's another difference between torsion air and ordinary suspension. Coil springs or airbags.
I can see now there's more to power steering than just making it easier to park.
Come on, we're going up the Mount Whitney Road and do some more tests. Why don't you ride in the Imperial?
Oh, that did it. Let's go.
A Windsor and a Buick Super coast down this 18% grade with transmissions in low gear. This determines the braking you get out of an engine without using your brakes. Brakes used too much on hills heat up and fade. The Buick with down-the-flow transmission doesn't hold as well as the Windsor, by a length and a half. Next is the Windsor and the Oldsmobile. This engine braking test is pretty much a test of transmissions. Now it's the Chrysler Torque Flight against Oldsmobile Hydromatic. The Torque Flight holds better than the Hydromatic. Now it's the Windsor Torque Flight versus Mercury's Mercomatic. This particular quality doesn't mean much on the level, but in hilly driving it means a whale of a lot. We're going to use this sharp curve for another test. For stability in hard turns. The established safe speed around here is 25 miles an hour. Our drivers are going to take it at 50 to see how steady each car can hang in there. Here comes the Windsor, and around the corner like a West Point cadet. And now the Buick Super. The rear end breaks loose. Next, the Oldsmobile. It holds a little better, but the rear end still breaks away some. The Mercury. The driver each time makes every effort to follow the same pattern, but all cars don't react the same. Here's the New Yorker, hugging the curve as if it was on a track. No sway, no lean, no breakaway. The Buick Roadmaster. On airbags you pay extra for. Not much difference between this car and the Buick Super, is there? Now the Imperial. It's glued to the road and corners as flat as a bookkeeper's chest. This is the Cadillac on coil springs. Again the rear end breaks loose. And last, Lincoln. Why don't the Chrysler slide off the road? The answer is torsion air. Here's a perfect spot to see how these cars stand up under a series of hard, natural bumps. This particular 100 yards of road is as rough as you'll find anywhere. In the bump test, we send each car over the road in turn. First, the Windsor. Now the Oldsmobile. It really noses down after the first bump. Let's compare these two runs in split screen and slow motion so we can see how each car reacts after a bump. The Windsor levels off quickly. The Oldsmobile continues to pitch, fore and aft, the whole stretch. Next, the Mercury. This car does quite a bit of bottoming. In slow motion, we see the right front wheel of the Mercury leaves the road briefly after the initial bump. It leaves the road 3 more times in this stretch, and the car pitches all the way. Whereas the Windsor wheels never lose contact with the road and are always under control. The Buick Super. Buick has the standard coil spring suspension, same as last year. Compare them in slow motion. The Windsor rides steady, but Buick coil springs have very little control over bounce or pitching. Now the Chrysler Saratoga. Note the contrast. The wheels take a beating, but they stick to the road, and the body stays level. The Buick Roadmaster holds special interest because it's equipped with so-called air suspension at extra cost. But you can see for yourself that these airbags don't absorb the bumps compared to Saratoga with torsion air. They don't check the rocking motion. Airbags lack both control cushioning and snubbing qualities. Want to see something pretty? Watch this Imperial take the bumps, easily and evenly. Next is Cadillac. It noses heavily in front and pitches considerably. The Caddy is going to coil springs this year, both front and rear. A change for 58. But compared to the Imperial, they don't seem to help the ride much. There's a lot of seesawing still going on there. Now the Lincoln. It too has switched the coil springs all around for 58 in an attempt to improve the ride. But slow motion shows that compared to the Imperial, there is still a lot of rock and roll. There is just no car that rides as smoothly as a Chrysler with torsion air. Now it's our turn to ride. Let's climb on the camera car and I'll show you some real fun. This test will get these cars bouncing like a kangaroo with a pouch full of Tabasco. Here's a test to end all torture road tests. We built a series of bumps so engineered and so located as to put the greatest possible strain on every part of a car's suspension system. This road has more bumps and grinds built into it than a honky-tonk chorus girl. The cars follow each other at 40 miles an hour over one of the toughest courses possible. As you can see, these cars take a terrific beating, and the drivers don't have too short a time of it either. Let's watch these tests now and see some real action. The first 2 cars over this course will demonstrate how the lower-priced cars take this pounding. The Windsor is pacing the Mercury at 40 miles an hour. Here is the same run in slow motion. 2 cameras have been used to record this series of tests. This way, the results can be seen both in regular and slow motion. The torture road, as you can see, has been built to put cars through the severest kind of punishment. This is to compare the life and durability of the suspension systems. At slow motion camera speed, every detail of these cars' reactions can be studied. Note the difference between torsion air ride and coil spring ride. Now the Windsor hits the torture test with the Oldsmobile. At least it's in there pitching. As you can see, both front end, back end, and sideways. Now in slow motion, you can see how these cars are punished as they hit the ramps and bounce into the air. Often with all four wheels off the ground, and then come crashing down with a jolt that would knock the teeth out of a curry comb. These ramps are designed to twist and throw the cars to the side, as well as up and down. See how the Oldsmobile pitches and is difficult to control as it hits these bumps. The Windsor hits and recovers almost instantly, and with ease. Here we see the Windsor and the Buick Super in action. Look at the difference. Now the same run in slow motion. And incidentally, this is the same Windsor that ran the first two tests. Remember, the Chrysler products travel this course again and again and again. Look, both cars are completely airborne. All four wheels off the ground. The important thing is the quickness of recovery after the car comes down. The Buick continues to toss and pitch, while the torsion air ride levels the Windsor almost immediately. The New Yorker leaving the Buick Roadmaster equipped with airbag suspension. But something's going wrong. Let's see it again in slow motion. The test drivers have to be strapped into their seats because of the violent pitching and tossing, as you can see by watching the Buick. In fact, the Buick airbag broke loose. Watch the left rear wheel closely and you'll see it. There it goes, and there goes the whole left rear, sagging down to the rear axle. Now we see the Buick leaving the torture road. This is what happens when an airbag goes out. Next, the luxury cars. The Imperial sets the pace for the Lincoln. The Lincoln is all over the road. In slow motion, we see that the Lincoln is all up in the air over this test. And because of its soft suspension system, when it returns to Earth, it bottoms heavily, front and rear, and along its entire length. One of the rear coil springs was jarred completely out of its seat during this test, and both rear shocks were broken. The Imperial, not a scratch, and ready for another run. Now hang on to your hat, boy. The next one's a dilly. Just keep your eyes on the Cadillac. Now the heavyweight championship, Imperial versus Cadillac. Uh-oh, a 1-2 knockout. Let's see this in slow motion. Remember, this is as tough a test as you'll ever see, but one you would expect two quality cars to pass with ease. Incidentally, both rear shock absorber mounting brackets on the Cadillac have been torn loose from the frame. The Imperial with torsion air has taken the torture run for the second time and is ready to go again. Without a doubt, no other ride can compare with torsion air for safety, for comfort, for dependability.
The last couple of days have certainly been an eye-opener to me.
Glad to have you sit in. Thanks for coming with me to the airport. I appreciate your driving this Windsor back to L.A.
Oh, I jumped at the chance. The Chrysler Corporation cars remind me of Miss America. Anyone that good-looking doesn't have to know how to cook. But here's one that does.
Well, there's an old engineering proverb that you can't have a truly functional car without beautiful lines. There's a good example ahead of us. I'll pull over and show you what I mean. That jet plane over there, that doesn't look any more like the aeroplane of 20 years ago than Jane Mansfield resembles Little Eva. A plane that flies 1,000 miles an hour has to be shaped differently than a crate that seldom hits 100. Advancement in speed forced refinements and streamlining. In other words, more functional styling. Automobile styling has followed a somewhat similar development, especially with Chrysler and Imperial. That's what they mean by the forward look. Compare this car with that jet. Both have flight suite design. Even when standing still, they have the look of effortless flight. Notice the long, clean lines all going one way, the thinness of the roof line, the spaciousness of all the windows, especially the New Horizon windshield, the extra-large rear windows, all of which give the driver and passengers that open-air feeling. The tailored tail fins are a logical part of the Flight Suite design, not a disorganized collection of scrap metal with less functional use than a bagpipe player and a Dixieland band. This basic new design has been enthusiastically received by the buying public. Last year's record sales increase proves that. That ought to make Chrysler dealers and Chrysler owners feel pretty good.
Makes me feel pretty good. There's no question in my mind what car we're about to buy.
Oh, good. Have a pleasant trip.
Same to you. So long.
Be seeing you. Well, there's one of my reports you won't have to wait to read in Mechanics Illustrated. You've seen it.
On the test track with 9 of America's fine automobiles, you'll see in action the Buick Century, the Buick Super, the Oldsmobile Super 88, the Oldsmobile 98, the Cadillac 62, the Chrysler Windsor, the Chrysler Saratoga, the Chrysler New Yorker, and the Imperial. The road tests you're about to take part in were filmed here on the Chrysler Engineering Proving Grounds at Chelsea, Michigan. Test conditions for all cars are guaranteed equal by Ross Roy Incorporated. Tests were run over a period of 4 weeks under all kinds of weather conditions, and each test was run many times to get a true performance picture of the cars. The test cars are not specially built Daytona racing models. They're cars any man can buy. They're production line automobiles obtained direct from dealers. The only optional equipment added is power steering, power brakes, and automatic transmissions. The cars have been tuned to factory specifications. Professional test drivers are behind the wheels. These are road tests. Tough, side-by-side road tests. The kind every new car buyer would like to make before reaching a decision. That's why we take you to the test track, where we'll see the Cadillac, the Imperial, and the New Yorker accelerate from 0 to 60 miles an hour with transmissions in drive range. Watch the car that takes the lead. When the driver turns on the headlights, that means he's hit 60. Watch now. Watch. There it is. It's the New Yorker, and as it hits 60 miles an hour, Imperial follows closely, and then Cadillac. Now it's the Buick Super, the Olds 98, and the Chrysler Saratoga in the same standing start acceleration run. You'll know the test is over when you see the winning car's headlights. There they are. When the Saratoga hits 60, it's ahead of the Olds 98 and far, far ahead of the Super. Now
let's try the Century. Actually a hotter car than the Super, with Dynaflow in low. That's giving the Century its best range for acceleration, and we'll test it with the old Super 88 and the Chrysler Windsor, which are in drive range. Watch for the headlights, and there they are. Now we'll test them for highway passing ability. So let's switch to a test for acceleration from 25 to 70 miles an hour. The Cadillac, Imperial, and New Yorker are cruising at 25 now, and there they go. Transmissions are in drive range. You'll see the headlights signal when the lead car hits 70. There's the finish. New Yorker, Imperial, Cadillac. Now it's the Buick Century, old Super 88, and the Chrysler Windsor. Decide for yourself which car in this price group you'd rather be driving when there's a chance to pass on a crowded highway. Watch for the lights. It's Windsor with ease. Buick Super, Olds 98, and the Chrysler Saratoga take the 25 to 70 mile an hour test. Again, the transmissions are in drive range when the drivers get the signal to accelerate. And when Saratoga hits 70, Buick and Olds follow as they wind up this test for safe passing performance. But you're on the test track to see the toughest kinds of road tests. So take a ride down the steepest paved hill in America. This is a 32% grade, and it's the final test for brute acceleration power. Here's Cadillac at 300 horsepower and Imperial at 325 horsepower. Let's watch our two most expensive test cars climb this hill in drive range. Here they come. It's Imperial leading Cadillac to the top. Now we're watching the Windsor against the General Motors car that showed the fastest acceleration in the 0 to 60 tests. So it's Windsor against old Super 88. Both transmissions are in drive range. And there's your test result. Chrysler has the go power, but can it match it with stop power? Let's find out as the New Yorker, Imperial, and Cadillac take a panic stop test from 60 miles an hour. If they're exactly even, they'll get the flag. Drivers hit the brake pedals with full force. There's your road test evidence. Here comes Windsor, old Super 88, and Buick Century at 60 miles an hour. Watch the Buick and Olds. Those GM brakes grab sometimes. And it's Windsor, Oldsmobile second, and Buick third and off the road as we wind up these tests for stopping ability under emergency conditions. Of course, there's another condition that some drivers have faced, brake fade. To test for brake fade out here on the track, the New Yorker, Imperial, and Cadillac are completing a series of 5 quick stops from 60 miles an hour. This will heat up the linings and make them fade. That is, lose some of their stopping ability. We'll start the cars side by side on the 6th stop and see which one has the greatest resistance to brake fade. There it is. Same test now for the lower-priced cars. They're completing the series of 5 brutal high-speed stops. They cruise side by side at 60, get the flag. There's your finish. Windsor, old Super 88, Buick Century. So you've been on the test track for side-by-side braking tests, which show that Chrysler-built automobiles have the stop power to match their go power. And now we're riding in the Cadillac to check for steering ease. The driver is taking us through the pylons by steering with a special steering effort wheel. It measures the amount of muscle required by the car's power steering system. We're doing a steady 15 miles an hour. And that special wheel is registering 6 1/10 pounds of effort for the left turns and 5 9/10 pounds of effort for the right turns. Now we're inside the Imperial to see how much muscle the same driver needs to steer the same course at the same speed. That's That steering effort wheel is registering 2 9/10 pounds of effort on the left turns and 3 3/10 pounds of effort on the right turns. So the Imperial takes about half the manual effort Cadillac does. Yes, there's quite a difference in power steering systems. But steering effort is just a part of steering control. So let's test for safe handling by taking these pylons at 40 miles an hour. This is the Windsor. Now the Saratoga with the same driver. These pylons are only 60 feet apart, so any car that can wind through them at 40 miles an hour certainly shows safe control. Here's the New Yorker. Next, the old Super 88. Same driver, same speed, same test. Now it's the Olds 98. A test like this indicates how quickly the rear end will break loose on slippery pavement or loose gravel. The Buicks take their turn with a Century first. This kind of test also shows how much control the owner will have if he has to steer around a sudden obstacle. Here's the Super, a heavier car than the Century. Carrying that weight on 4 coil springs could make it a little difficult to... Well, let's see where he landed. You've heard about the stability that's built into Chrysler automobiles. You're seeing what a difference this makes. Now the Cadillac, General Motors' best. The on-again, off-again action of its part-time power steering could... Well, there's the end of the test. Here's the Imperial, heaviest and biggest car on the track. It's shaving him mighty close under the same conditions that threw the other cars off the road. Here's a test for stability under more normal conditions. The Windsor is going around a curve that's marked for a safe speed of 25 miles an hour. It's taking it at 50 to see if it has an extra margin of safety. In the same price class, the old Super 88. Look at him turn on the power to pull out of that skid and keep out of the ditch. Now the Buick Century. The Saratoga. Notice that the Chrysler cars can take these curves at 50 with less lean. That means more than comfort. It means safe control, too. Just compare it with the Olds 98. It's a good thing it's a professional driver taking this curve at 50. This is the Buick Super. The Chrysler New Yorker. Full-time power steering with a constant feel of the wheel and with less steering wheel turning helps in a situation like this. Watch the Cadillac. Now the Imperial. Same 50 miles an hour. The Imperial makes the test look easy. Driving control that's safe, sure, and easy. Stopping power that's positive. Accelerating power that's quick and ready. These are just some of the driving qualities for which you'd like to road test these cars. But how about a comfortable car? For instance, how about a car that doesn't pitch you back in your seat at every traffic light? You'll see a difference when the Century and the Windsor accelerate in slow motion. Keep your eyes on the horizontal bars and notice the difference as Century dips low in the rear. Now it's the Olds 98 accelerating with Chrysler Saratoga. Cadillac 62 and the Imperial. turn rubber, but one squats low in the rear, the other rises and takes off. Now, let's move to a much tougher test for comfort. A country railroad crossing that's deceiving to the eye. Looks like any car could take this crossing at 30 miles an hour, doesn't it? All right, let's see what happens to the Buick Century. Watch that rear end. Let's try the old Super 88. See how long the front wheels can stay off the ground. And notice how long it takes this car to level out after the bump. Here's the Windsor in the same price class. Watch again to see how long it takes the car to level out. Torsion Air Ride brings it to a flat ride again pretty quick, doesn't it? Let's step up one price class. Watch to see if the Buick Super's front wheels take off. See if you can count how many times the front end rises and falls after the bump. Now the Olds 98. Watch that rear bumper when it bites dirt. Let's try the Saratoga. See if Oriflow shock absorbers can level off the car quickly for a smooth ride. Now we'll test the higher-priced group. Here's New Yorker. Look for the effect of Chrysler Corporation's synchronized springing on this car. Cadillac, a good car, a luxurious car, but at 30 miles an hour, it bounces. Just compare it with the Imperial. Would you like to make this comparison in regular motion? Cadillac, Imperial. Like to move up close and see what the front ends do in slow motion? Watch the wheels on this old Super 88. The Buick Century. Watch the rocks fly. The Chrysler Windsor. Had you wondered if Torsion Air was just an advertising slogan? Try the Buick Super. Now the Saratoga. No rocks and no roll. The Olds 98. Watch the front bumper. Take the New Yorker. You could take the Cadillac. But here's the Imperial. Care to ride over these tracks in slow motion? You're inside the Imperial. This is the effect of torsionaire suspension from inside the car. Now, take a ride at the same speed in a Cadillac. Feel it bobbing? Now, let's watch the Windsor follow the Super on the specially built Torture Road. It's taking the same bumps and dips, but look at the difference. Here's the Saratoga following the Olds 98 over the Torture Road. And here comes the Imperial following the Cadillac. Is there a difference? Your test. You're on a test track at the Chrysler Engineering Proving Grounds near Chelsea, Michigan. You've seen cars competing in the toughest kind of side-by-side road tests. Cars with standard engines. Family cars with no optional performance equipment other than what the average man buys. Automatic transmission, power brakes, and power steering. The results of the road test you've witnessed can be duplicated by anyone who duplicates the conditions. But you don't need a proving ground to demonstrate the difference between Chrysler or Imperial and other makes. In your own hometown, there are places where you can demonstrate every one of the Chrysler advantages you've seen proved on the test track. Go power, stop power, comfort, safe control, and easy handling. There are places where you can make these benefits come alive for the prospect, right within driving distance of your own dealership. Find the places in and around town where you can demonstrate the Chrysler superiorities, then make your plan for selling it. You can start with style. For these long, low cars don't need a showroom background. As you drive along the street, ask your prospect to notice how high the other cars look. As for stopping power, the prospect can try a panic stop from 60 if he wants to, but you'll do just as well if you point out that Mr. Prospect can stop quickly, yet stop smoothly, stop flat, stop with a feeling of firm control at any stop sign. Flat starts? Starting without squatting is a Chrysler Comfort exclusive. Why not ask a man to notice it as he steps on the gas? Flat cornering? The pylons help prove that Chrysler is safer and easier to handle around the turns. But you can make the same point as you go around any corner. For it's a fact that Chrysler leans less on turns, and it'll be a sales point if you bring it to Mr. Prospect's attention. Comfort? Sure, nobody drives over country railroad crossings all day, but few people do all their driving on smooth boulevards either. So it makes sense to pick a rough spot in your town and show how Chrysler handles it. Performance? Quick bursts of power for safe passing? Chrysler has it. And your prospect can prove it for himself on any open highway near town. That's what's important. You were on the test track to see the side-by-side evidence that Chrysler welcomes a comparison with anybody's car. But it's during your demonstration that a prospect learns for himself the reasons why he should buy a Chrysler.
get better automobiles every year because automotive manufacturing cars such as the Torsionaire Ride. Let's compare a Torsionaire Ride with competitive rides. Torsionaire versus combined coil and leaf spring suspension, and Torsionaire versus complete coil suspension. Starting with the low price 3. First, compare the amount of front-end dip when full stop is made from 25 miles an hour. Competitive cars are camouflaged, so we can bring you this behind-the-scenes test film. This is Plymouth versus its other competition. Testing stability on hard turns. The Plymouth takes a sharp turn at 50 miles an hour and still hangs right in there. Next, one of its competitors around the same curve at the same speed. Oops! Now the other competitive make, same speeds. Neither one has the road holding of Torsionaire. Wow, good thing no ditch there. The bump test. 100 yards of as rough a road as you'll find in a month of Sundays. The Plymouth recovers very quickly and flattens out. Let's see it again in slow motion. You can see how Torsionaire tends to level the bumps, not compound them. The wheels remain in contact with the road at all times, which means that the car remains under control at all times, even over the roughest road. Now comes the competition. Same road and same regular speed. On those coil and leaf springs, they really bounce. Slow motion will give you a chance to count the number of times the wheels leave the ground. This car has been advertised as looking like it wants to take off. By golly, it does. Now the other competitive car with all coil springs. It seems to have even more bounce to the ounce. Now in slow motion, those old coil springs really pitch the car around. High off the ground in front, crashing low in the rear. Then vice versa. What is the first thing you buy a car for? The ride. Then why put up with a ride like this when you can get Torsionaire in Chrysler Corporation cars at no extra cost? The flags are set up for the safe handling test. They're exactly 60 feet apart, and all 3 cars are going to weave through them at 35 miles an hour. Here comes the Plymouth, sweeping through the obstacles, as graceful, as nimble, and as sure-footed as a cat. Competitor number 1 at the same speed as the Plymouth makes the first 3 flags all right before rear-end breakaway catches up with him. From then on, it's every flag for itself. Competitor number 2, same speed. He makes the first 2 flags, but after that, he's all but out of control. Let's take the Plymouth through once again and see how easy Plymouth makes it look. Ah, that's handling. That's Torsionaire. The Torture Road. The Torsionaire Plymouth leads one of its low-price 3 competitors over a man-made series of bumps. Watch them both over the same rough course. In slow motion, we can see how the ramps are so engineered and located to put the maximum strain on the suspension systems. Even at that, Torsionaire quickly brings the Plymouth to a level ride. But the second car is alternately bottoming badly and lunging erratically with all 4 wheels leaving the ground at once. Again, it is Torsionaire versus coil springs in front and leaf springs in the rear. Back to regular motion, and Plymouth takes the other competitor over the jumps. If anything, this competitor is having an even rougher time. In slow motion, the difference in the 2 rides shows up even more. A bucking Bronco could take lessons from that number 2 car there. What is this Torsionaire that makes all the difference between the ride in any Chrysler Corporation car and any other car, regardless of price? It is no one thing. It is a combination of elements and part of the total design. Torsionaire begins with the wheels. Low-pressure harsher tires with the widest tread in the industry absorb more road shocks. Next come box section frame and cross members, the rubber insulated stabilizer bar, the ball joints and upper and lower control arms that virtually eliminate front end dip, the torsion bar springs, the heart of the Torsionaire ride, Oriflow shock absorbers that smooth out every type of bump, and the outboard mounted rear springs that help prevent side sway and eliminate rear end squat. The combination of all these elements make up Torsionaire ride. But the heart of the ride lies in these tough steel torsion bars, which provide a resilient spring action by twisting the bar attached directly to the wheel through the lower control arm, eliminating the old-fashioned coil spring used by other manufacturers. Which would you say provides the smoother, more controlled spring action? With that in mind, now let's compare the high-price three. This time, the Imperial versus a camouflaged competitor take the brake dip test. With another competitive car, the Imperial again holds steady while the other does a nosedive. Back to the cornering test on the sharp curve. The Imperial hugs it smoothly at 50 miles an hour. At the same speed, the high-priced competition slides off the road onto the shoulder and bites the dust. Now the second competitive car, same speed, same sickening skid. Again, Torsionaire takes a turn for the better. Again, the big bump test. The heavy Imperial absorbs the shocks well and recovers quickly. The same ride in slow motion permits us to see how beautifully the wheels hug the road even after the hardest bumps, maintaining control of the car and ironing out the roughest ride. Here comes competition. Might be called the teenager's delight with those coil springs. It's rock and roll all the way. Let's slow the picture down. It doesn't improve the ride, but it does give us a chance to see what happens when a car without Torsionaire hits a real bump. This car is trying to level out the bumps by scraping them off. The other competitive car. How now, Brown Plow? This one really digs a fine furrow. Now in slow motion, we see the competition at least is still in their pitching. First the front end, and then the back. The only other way you can get a ride like this without coil springs is at a rodeo. Torsionaire doesn't give you these road-scraping features, but it does give you a smoother, more controlled ride. Just in case you've forgotten, let's take the Imperial over the bumps once more. A little bounce, sure, but what a world of difference. Again, the flag course and the smooth handling test with the heavier cars. And here is the Imperial, taking every turn with confident, controlled maneuverability. Now the first competitive car at the same speed takes a whack at it, and whack, there goes a flag. And there goes the competitive car out onto the shoulder. Our other competitive car starts around the flags, the rear end breaks away, and now it's through the flags heading for the field. Can't tell whether it's flag day or field day. And now two of the high-priced three take out over the torture road at 40 miles an hour with the Imperial pacing the competitive car. In slow motion, you can readily see where the torture road gets its name. These cars are being tortured and twisted by these man-made bumps so as to produce the maximum strain on the suspension systems. The Imperial is taking the jolts and leveling off with a minimum of bounce. But the competitive car is bottoming both front and rear, and the wheels seem to be going away on a trip by themselves. It's Torsionaire versus four-coil spring suspension. And to the car in the rear, whatever the time of year, it seems to be spring in the air everywhere. Again, the Imperial paces the second competitive car. If it was spring before, it must be summer now, because some are worse than others. Let's look at this in slow motion. Here you see the Imperial still recovering and leveling quickly after each bump, while the competitive car pitches and bounces heavily, scraping both front and rear ends, to say nothing of the middle, which is almost impossible. You will note, too, that these wheels act independently mounted, as though they were going off in every direction by themselves. The test drivers call that one the Elvis. It's all shook up. Well, which would you rather ride? Old-style coil springs, or Chrysler Corporation's exclusive Torsionaire ride at no extra cost?